Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Ferndale City Council meeting for Monday, August 22nd to session. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yeah.
Council members Baker. Here. Galloway. Lennon.
Here.
Piana. Here. Mayor Coulter.
Thank you. We have a quorum this evening. Councilman Galloway is on vacation with his family. Is it the will of the council to excuse his absence this evening?
So moved, John.
Thank you. Support. Can we just unanimous consent?
Certainly.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Our first order of business then is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Moved by Baker, supported by Piana. Any comments or questions about the agenda tonight? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council members Baker.
Yes.
Lennon.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes.
Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you very much. We have several presentations this evening, the first coming from our Downtown Development Authority, and I see Christina Shepard-Decius is here with us. Christina?
Actually,
You're not on.
I will turn it over to Phil Rivera.
Phil Rivera, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Christina. My name is Phil Rivera. I'm a resident of Ferndale and a volunteer with the Ferndale Downtown Development Authority. I'm here to introduce the recipients of the Annual Recognition Awards. On August 1st of 2011, the Ferndale Downtown Development Authority held its annual Recognition Awards dinner to celebrate the successes that 2010 brought to downtown. Last year brought 40 new businesses to downtown Ferndale for a net overall gain of 26. These businesses created 204 net new jobs. In the first half of 2011, 13 new businesses have opened in downtown and 4 existing businesses have expanded. In 2010, 25 special events were held in downtown Ferndale, and 3 public improvement projects were completed. This year, there has been nearly $8 million in public and private investment in downtown Ferndale, including 37 building rehabilitations and 1 building addition. With nearly 100 nominees, we were honored to recognize 7 businesses as the best of the best in 2010. These awards were voted on by residents, friends, and businesses of downtown Ferndale. For best facade improvement, the Ferndale Public Library. The best window display for the 2nd year in a row, Pinwheel Bakery. The best landscaping alfresco space for the 2nd year in a row was Rosie O'Grady's. The best signage for a new business went to Woodward Avenue Candy Shop. The Best New Independent Retailer Award went to Downtown Ferndale Bike Shop. The Best New Independent Service Business went to Painting with a Twist. And the Best New Independent Restaurant, Bar, or Club went to Treat Dreams. We were also able to recognize 10 individuals for their contribution to the DDA and to the City of Ferndale. The Fabulous Friends of Ferndale, for their outstanding contributions to downtown Ferndale and the city, were Steve Salvaggio and Western Market, Larry Novak of Como's, resident Dan Martin, and Scott Maloney of Treat Dreams. And of course, who would we be without our fantastic volunteers? We were pleased to honor some of our most outstanding, including residents Katie Reif, Annika Norris, Jen Bray-Bourgeau, business owner and resident Chris Ramos, and business owner Veronica Lujic. For more information about these folks and their contributions, visit the Downtown Ferndale page on Facebook and their website at www.downtownferndale.com. Now I'm going to turn it over to Christina for a few more comments.
Thanks, Phil.
Phil doesn't know, his photo's right on the screen. What would an awards party be without recognizing the Volunteer of the Year? We recognize Phil Rivera for all of his efforts with Downtown Ferndale this past year. So I want to give a round of applause for Phil. A lot of things that people do not see are the things behind the scenes that we do, and Phil definitely served in that capacity on a lot of it, with putting together our awards party the previous year, as well as some of the brochures that we have put together this past year, and some of the other documentation and organizing of our volunteer efforts. So without his help and really his smiling face every single time you walk in the room, sure, I'll do that. It has definitely been a pleasure to work with him and have him be one of our best and brightest volunteers. I also wanted to give a few quick little updates on some of the things that we've been working on. As we have mentioned before, we have been working on installing an on-street bike rack. The first one would be a test pilot in front of Western Market. And so in the next few weeks, bikers will be able to park their bikes on-street on these on-street bike corrals. They are commonly found in the West Coast, but also in local cities such as Ann Arbor and Traverse City. They are designed with the fact in mind that bikers are safer when they're riding on the road, so encouraging bikers to use the roadway and to navigate to on-street biking stations are actually some of the safest ways to get around town. The Ferndale DDA was working with the TIA, Police Department, and DPW to determine the safest design for the particular location at Western Market, and using that as a template as we move forward. One of the things that we do want to put together is a long-term plan for more on-street bike racks in the near future. We do have a temporary traffic control order from the police department to move forward with this, and that will be good until the end of October as a test pilot, and then hopefully restarting again in the spring if all goes really well. We are working with Downtown Ferndale Bike Shop in ordering the materials, as well as the DDA has partnered with Western Market to sponsor the bike corral. As I had mentioned, over the course of the next fall and winter, we will be putting this plan together. But one of the things I wanted to note that I received in the mail, and maybe others have received this as well, is that through Michigan Department of Transportation, there is a training wheels for road bicycles facility design training sessions. There will be one held on September 27th from 9 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. in Berkeley. And if you would like more information, you can always just contact me at the office and I can get you the information. There's also one on the 28th in Rochester. The cost is $10 to attend, and you must have a bike and a helmet to participate, because they will take you on a little bit of a tour. The next thing that I wanted to mention is regarding our Park Mobile program. We are so excited to really get this launched and going. And just think how great it will be when you pull into a parking space in downtown Ferndale and no longer have to scramble for quarters and, in your little stash in your car and plug the meter. And instead, all you have to do is pick up your phone, dial an 800 number, or hit the smartphone application and feed the meter via your credit card. So this is a great convenience for our consumers, as well as when you're maybe getting your hair done, sitting in the chair, it's running a little long, all of a sudden you'll get a 15-minute notice before your meter expires that you need to feed your meter a little bit more. So you have that opportunity to just plug a little bit more in just via your phone and not even leave your seat. So hopefully that will be launching in September. We are working hard on this right now. Both the finance director, the DPW, and the DDA are putting the final things together to make this launch. We will be out during the DIY Street Fair and Funky Ferndale Art Fair educating consumers on how to use the system and how to register, as well as the fact that right now, if you are registering, we do have information on how you can win a free iPad. So pick up one of these flyers. It's out in businesses throughout downtown Ferndale at our office, and we will have the information posted on our Facebook site as well. One last step in terms of making downtown Ferndale the future of parking is also the electric car charging stations that have popped up just in the last couple of weeks. They are located in the library parking lot and the Withington parking lots. It is free to charge up, but it is not still free to park. So you still have to feed the parking meter to park. But we will have an official charge-up unveiling pretty soon here. We have not yet set the date, but we will be doing that in the next week. The last item that I wanted to mention is that we had a great attendance at our public open house that we held for our West 9 Mile streetscape area. It is how the West will be won. So I like the humor too. All of our volunteers are great with their humor on this stuff. So it makes the process of putting together streetscapes a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun, because it is a long road and a lot of work. But from that meeting, we had over 30 people attend, businesses and residents, a lot of residents actually, that came in and really commented on their struggles with the current streetscape in that area from West 9 Mile from Livernois to Pinecrest. And we were discussing ways to make it more pedestrian friendly and economically viable. As you will see in our downtown development plan of 2007, which was adopted by the City Council in 2008, this was an area that has been always a challenge for us. So the reason we're starting to work on this project right now is that the DPW does have a repaving grant for 2013 scheduled. So we're trying to make these two projects hopefully coincide. We obviously don't want to come back in and rip things up after we've already repaved. So we're working very hard on that. We have TIA actually working on traffic counts right now. They have been, they've taken all the traffic counts. They're now applying it to their system, which is called the Synchro system. And their analysis will be completed, they had stated, hopefully by mid-September. That will be in time for us to actually start applying all those facts and figures into a design concept that we can then begin utilizing that for procuring, hopefully, some future grants for the project. And that is a little bit about what we've been working on lately.
Through the chair, I've got a question for the DDA director. I was at that meeting since I live on Bowfield, and I want to thank my neighbors for literally flyering the whole neighborhood. We had a couple of neighbors who really got out there and turned out our three little streets there. I know it's your neighborhood too. And I wondered, what were some of the top challenges that residents defined in that area? What were some of the things that they really see as problems or challenges?
I think the biggest one, obviously, is just the sidewalks themselves. They are just not wide enough. They are not ADA compliant by any means. There's, old light poles that are blocking most of the sidewalk. And you'll also see in many of the other notes is just crossing nodes and crossing points. It is very challenging to cross over at Livernois, as well as you have to then walk probably 5 to 6 blocks to get to another crossing point unless you want to play chicken with the cars. So, and on a business side of things, one of the things that we really see as a detriment to that area, not only the streetscape itself, just it is not consistent with everything else going in the downtown, which has an impact on what's considered downtown and what's even considered Ferndale for all that in consideration. And our businesses, I think, would really benefit from some on-street parking in that area because parking is limited for a good number of those businesses, and streamlining traffic controls and the roadway so that it is easier to cross and more consistent with the road pattern that you'll see that goes east of Livernois.
Thanks. I know it's a huge challenge for my neighbors with strollers to try and safely navigate that.
Strollers and a dog. Imagine that. I do
Big
it.
dog. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next presentation, I'm looking at Peggy Snow, but would you indulge me for just a minute and let me skip over you for a second? I see a whole group of folks behind you, and they don't look impatient at all, but I think they probably have better things to do. So I'm going to move our police department awards up, Peggy, if you don't mind, so they can get back to protecting the citizens like they do so well. So, Chief, why don't you come up and do these?
We have 3 separate awards or incidents that we'd like to present awards to tonight. The first one is the Citizens Award. If I could have Joe Farrell step up here. Mr. Mayor, Joe is a employee of the city. He works for the CDS department. He is a code enforcement officer. And the 2nd of August of this year, Joe was on routine patrol going from one place to another, and he happened to observe a person snatching occur. Purse snatching that occurred right out here across the street. He saw the suspect run, and he chased him west on 9 Mile through the alley over by the Elks Club, and tackled this individual, recovered the purse, and held him there until our officers arrived. Officer Crane arrived and placed him under arrest. So this individual had a long history of both theft and violent crime, and he's under arrest, and he is now currently awaiting trial. So Joe did an outstanding job for us, put his own life in peril to do this, and we appreciate it very much. Okay, this next one, I hope I get this one right because it's kind of complicated. But it was, this is an outstanding job. 3 very serious bad guys went to jail over this. This is a robbery that occurred at the Ferndale Community Pharmacy over on West 9 Mile across from the CVS. On July 11th at about 7 p.m., our dispatcher received a telephone call on a 911 wireless. He could hear muffled voices, didn't really know what was going on, but he felt that it was probably a robbery of something that was going on at that time. The way the 911 system works is we get coordinates, like a GPS coordinates on that, and the dispatcher, McDonald, very quickly thought to plug that into Google Maps, and when he did so, he got a location that was within 100 feet of where this robbery was happening. Still, we're assuming that something was going on of that nature, but we weren't 100% sure. We sent our officers. He started dispatching officers to that location. The first officers to arrive, Officer Collette, observes a vehicle parked in a parking lot to the west of there. He goes to order that person to stop, and that van takes off and goes down to Livernois and then goes south towards Detroit. Officer Carroll sees that van. He engages in a vehicle pursuit, chases that vehicle into Detroit until it crashes and rolls over. The suspect, if it was you or me, we'd be dead, but of course the suspect has the ability to get out and run into the backyards. So the officers set up a group. They sent the groups around there. They had Officer Carroll, of course. He was assisted by officers, I got it here. I know it's Officer Shank and Officer Szymanski, and they began to do a yard-to-yard search, and they ultimately locate the driver of that vehicle who would have been their getaway driver for that robbery, and they place him under arrest. As that's going on, simultaneously, we got assistance from the Royal Oak Police Department, the Hazel Park Police Department, the Madison Heights Police Department, and Oak Park Police. They responded to the pharmacy itself. As they were setting up a perimeter, 2 suspects bolt out the back door. One stops and gives himself up upon command. The other one makes it into the backyards. We were assisted with the canine officer from Hazel Park and Madison Heights officers and another officer from Hazel Park, as well as our officers, and those Hazel Park officers ultimately caught the 3rd suspect. When it was all said and done, we had all 3 suspects in custody. Nobody was hurt. The individuals that were at the pharmacy had been tied up and had been robbed. Their belongings had been taken from them. So we ultimately took these 3 suspects and we charged them federally instead of by state law, because we hope to put them in prison for a much longer period of time that way. But without these gentlemen back here, many of these gentlemen back here and ladies, they put some serious bad people behind bars that hopefully they will not get out for quite some time. I would like to call up First Dispatcher McDonald, who kind of started this whole thing. Officer Stephen Carroll. These officers will all be awarded our unit commendation. Robert, thank you. Steve Carroll. Officer Jason Collette.
Make me stand up here and get pictures.
Yeah, stand.
Chief, have them stand up for pictures.
They would like you all back up here for one big group picture. Thank you. Officer Amanda Szymanski. Officer Allison Shank. Officer Brandon Willie is not here this evening. Officer Dan Cousdale. Officer Strick from Hazel Park. We also have Hazel Park Officer Bosher. He's not here this evening. And Madison Heights Officer Wallowik is not here this evening. They also were instrumental in the capture of these three individuals.
I guess that'll do.
That'll work. Last but certainly not least, is one of the, I'm very honored, although Officer Ungerman is not with us tonight, but we do have a departmental citation. This is the largest award that we give at the local level. This incident occurred on June 19th. Officer Ungerman was on routine patrol that evening on the midnight shift at about 4:30 in the morning. He was flagged down by a victim of an armed robbery that had just occurred behind Como's restaurant. Officer Ungerman approached the suspect, and the man began walking away from him. He then approached a Dodge that was parked in that area and threw something into the vehicle. As Officer Ungerman approached the suspect and ordered him to stop, the suspect fled on foot. He gave a description of the suspect being brought over the radio. Other officers responded to the area. Officer Ungerman pursued the suspect fleeing around a corner, at which time that suspect entered into another vehicle that was parked near that on Vesper Street. As he did so, he ordered that individual to stop. One of them did. The other one did not. He was Officers Goebel, Cleveland, Officer Jacklick, Sergeant Emmy arrived at the scene, and ultimately both subjects were taken into custody. In that vehicle was a loaded sawed-off shotgun and a loaded handgun that they had used in the robbery. These two individuals were father and son. Ironically, this happened on Father's Day, so apparently they were out to get to celebrate the holiday that way. Detective Moore, when he came in, he spoke to both of the suspects. Both of them, after some good interrogation, they both had confessed to the crime. These individuals were serious bad guys. One of them had been in prison for second-degree murder. They also had robberies on their record. So these two individuals were very bad men, and they also are now locked up and awaiting trial. The only one here for that is here is Sergeant Emmy that I see, but we do have Officer Jacklick was involved in this, Officer Cleveland, Sergeant Emmy, sir, Detective Brendan Moore, and Officer Matt Goebel were involved in this. So we will forward these on to those officers, and we appreciate the very hard work, dedicated work, and the danger that they put themselves into on a daily basis.
Well, on behalf of a grateful city, thank you, Chief, and thank you for everyone who performed heroically on behalf of our citizens. It's wired into our DNA that when there's danger, you flee. That's part of our survival mechanism, right? And so it takes a very well-trained and dedicated person to look at danger and run into it to protect the rest of us. And all of those examples are just very heartwarming. Thank you very much, Chief, for all of that. Peggy, now, thank you for patiently waiting for us. We're going to do the August Beautification Awards now. Peggy Snow.
Yep, we have our usual three. And the first one is the commercial one. and it's the Chisano Coffee Roaster. It's, I think it used to be a medical supply place down there on East 9 Mile, down towards Hazel Park. The address is 1737, and they have a nice flower bed around their sign there, and it caught our eye. The next one is a residential one, and it's Deborah and David Young at 440 West Troy. And what kind of caught our eye about this one is that usually the flower beds go out. People have them like mine, do they go out from the house? These come back in towards the house. It was kind of different, and they had like white rocks there. It was kind of eye-catching, and the house is white too, so those the stones stood out very much, and lots of nice flowers and pots, a lot of pots too, sitting in there, which was a little different. And our last residential is at 2016 Bonner, and their names are Falter and Aldna, and I'm going to spell the last name. It's Xhomaqi. And very nice, a new house, 6 years old, and a lot of nice perennials, and they had put up a white privacy fence, one of the metal ones. It's very attractive. But all the flowers kind of popped out with that white behind, and they stood right out there. And last Thursday evening, the Beautification Commission rode around. We had about 10 houses that were nominated for block awards, and we selected Highland. And it's a very short block. It's West Drayton to the north, down to the dead end, maybe 10, 12 houses. And they have, this is breaking news because no one has been notified yet. So they will get a letter in the mail. And Saturday, October 1st at 10 a.m., we have a little ceremony there, and the city provides apple cider and donuts, and we meet with the residents. And I'd like to remind everyone.
Saturday at 10, you said, Peggy?
10 a.m. And also our perennial exchange, which I talked about before, and Suzanne Rowe has done up some very nice flyers for us. It's going to be Saturday, September 24th, from 10 a.m. to 1 at the Coolett Community Center, and we'll have rain barrels for $60 there. And lots of times, you know, we have plants left over at the end, and sometimes, you know, we do gardeners, you know, people just bought a house, don't have any flowers. You know, people come and they hang around at the end. We're happy to give away the plants to people who might want to start up a garden at their house. So we always hope some people come. We hate to have to throw any of those away. So that's it, I guess. I think I've covered all the bases, and thank you.
Peggy, as usual, thank you very much. Our final presentation this evening is from the folks at Fern Care, and they're here to distribute the proceeds from this infamous kickball tournament that we've talked about so much. And Joanne, are you going to present this evening? All of you, come on up.
We have a slide here.
All right.
Yeah, August 13th, we had our second annual kickball challenge. That was a lot of fun. We had the first year, we only had 2 teams, Ferndale Community Foundation and Fern Care, and we had a lot of fun. Didn't earn any money, but this year we were able to earn a little bit more. We had a total of 5 teams. Julie Hall, since you are a team captain, if you would like to come up. Julie Hall was the team captain for our city team. The advantage that we had to that is our city team, they don't get any money, but they helped us a lot, and they supported us a lot. And this is what we liked, was the fact that we have support for the nonprofits. So Julie was very instrumental in helping with that. Diana Smith. First place team was the David M. Smith Memorial Fund, which benefits Ferndale Youth Assistance, and they came in first place. Bob Babbitt is our treasurer for Fern Care, and he is presenting her with a $275 check.
Nice.
Let's see. Who was second place? Oh, that was the city team, wasn't it? I want you to stay up here for a minute, though.
The mayor
I'll
gets
just
that
say, yeah,
check.
City team was second. But, and we'll, you know, that was very nice of them. They kicked butt, I'll tell you. The third place team was Fern Care. Our treasurer already has our checks, so we won't do that. I also want to mention my husband, Dick Wilcock, was the umpire for the games on Field 1. And he did a very good job. It was really hard because we had like 5 games that you had to ump. 6 games. So it was tiring, but we had a really good time. They were short games and everything else. Let's see, how about Dan Martin? Dan Martin, and is Kevin Deegan Krause here? Oh, okay. I'm drawing a blank on your first name. O'Donnell. Jim O'Donnell. Jim O'Donnell. Okay, Dan Martin, and is representing the Ferndale Community Foundation, and Jim O'Donnell is representing the Friend of Ferndale Library. That they told me that they tied for last. So they each will also get $275.
Yeah.
Now, as I say, we did have a really good time, but Derek, would you like to come up here a minute? We had one little incident. Well, we had a couple of little ones, but on the first play of the first game, somebody seemed to have found a hole on the field. So we would like to present with him the Golden Crutch Award. And he didn't stick around too long. But that was Julie was able to do that for us. So as I say, the Recreation Department was a big help. Next year we hope to have more teams and more representatives throughout the city. The nonprofits, we had 4 nonprofits that were able to benefit from this. And it was a fun event, and we'd like to make it a bigger event. And a family event, may have a picnic afterwards and that sort of thing. So thanks everybody who did participate, and look forward to seeing more next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, everybody. All right, that concludes our presentations this evening, which means the next thing on our agenda would be call to audience. Call to audience, as you all know, is 30 minutes now, more time if needed later, to speak about anything that's not on the agenda, because you can talk about that when we get to that point on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. State your name and your address for our city clerk, or write it on the list on the back.
Good evening, Evan Sissel, 921 West Drayton.
Good evening.
Last meeting I spoke on the issue regarding the notorious graffiti that's been sparking all around Ferndale. I have since then personally painted over some of this graffiti with my own expenditures. But I was just wondering where we were at with the initiative to create a designated area for graffitiing. Like I said, I suggested a possible competition, because you can take, after instances of Detroit, they've done a lot of graffiti art all over the city, and it looks actually quite nice. And again, it would deter people that graffiti to hit up areas of commerce and residential areas. I suggested possibly the walkway between Liberty Tax Service and Dye. I think that would be a good area, because it's downtown. I think it would attract an artsy sort of vibe, because Ferndale's already going that artsy direction anyways. So I was wondering where we were at with that.
Have you talked to anyone from the city? I thought last time you might have had it. No,
there wasn't a lot of feedback, too much, but I'm kind of just trying to start like an initiative, like a whole kind of program, if you would. But I don't know if you guys had any word about that, or.
No, I apologize. I thought that we had connected you with somebody last time, but maybe I'm looking at our city manager. Maybe the two of you could exchange numbers and
I know
talk
that
about.
Derek and the chief are working on figuring out what to do, and I'll make sure somebody contacts you.
Right, but I think more so that like if we could get a contest for, like I said, for the walkway or something, that'd be kind of nice, like for Ferndale. I think it'd be a good attraction. I don't know, just an idea. So.
Yeah, no, your comment last time generated, I thought, a lot of interest, and I think there's a lot of interest in doing it. We got to make sure we have a program in place that makes sense, and so
right.
I thought there was some work going on. We'll make sure to connect, make sure we have your phone number, and we connect
definitely.
that with you.
So I should stick around, or?
Or even just give us your phone number. We'll make sure that, that April calls you.
Definitely.
Great.
I miss it.
Thank you.
It's on the environmental fishery.
Call to audience. Anyone else for call to audience? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Douglas Christie, Ferndale resident, and one of the organizers of the Sierra Club Green Cruise event, which was a couple weekends ago, the 7th annual in the city of Ferndale. I wanted to thank the mayor and council and the city for coming out to the event. I'd also like to thank the police department, the fire department, the DPW, and the DDA. They're all kind of here tonight. So thank you, everyone, for supporting the Green Cruise again. And, of course, the residents that all came out. I hope you had a fun time with all of the events with you and your family and friends. I'd also like to thank specifically the Ferndale businesses that sponsor and support the event for this year. That would be Garden Fresh Gourmet, the Downtown Ferndale Bike Shop, Western Market, Treat Dreams, Grab and Go Sushi, New York Bagel, Detroit Underdog, Greenleaf Bodywork, Woodward Ave Breweries, and the Ferndale Library, and then, of course, all the other businesses that let us put the posters and the flyers up leading up to the event. So save the date for 2012. It is always the second Saturday in August. That would be the 11th next year. And thank you again.
Thanks, Douglas. Great event.
Good evening, everybody. Ray Willis from 530 Wanda. One of the things I wanted to do was thank the city, all the volunteers, for the nice green event that we had at the Sierra Club. My children very much enjoyed it. I'd like to commend the city for the Dream Cruise also. Once again, my children found that the event Friday with the safety vehicles was really informative and nice. I would like to also commend the city on choosing the contractors that are working in my area of the city on the sidewalks. The company is doing a really bang-up job, and everything looks very professional and very exacting, perfect. I'd also like to thank all the residents in the city who have put up with the canvassing of the candidates, who have signed petitions or who didn't sign petitions and just had to listen to all of the candidates. It's great that everybody could be involved with the political process. It just reconfirms my belief in how nice everybody is in the city and how they're patient and willing to listen. What I've come forward tonight to talk about mostly is that I noticed in my travels that there's an area on 8 Mile, the sidewalks between West End and Fair Avenue, Fair Street. They're dirty. They're full of trash. They're full of glass, especially the area that's under the railroad tracks. I don't know if it's the responsibility of the businesses that are located to this area, if CNN could do something with the bridge. We rode our bikes to connect us from Wanda to Hilton the other day, and I felt like I was taking my tires in jeopardy. Is there a way that the city could send crews in this area, clean up, or could we maybe get a volunteer effort to get into this area and just clean up? Maybe CNN can do a little bit of work with the overgrowth that's near the railroad tracks. It looks like someone's camping out on the west side of the bridge in this area. Also, it might be an area that, since we're looking at improving some of the business areas in the downtown, maybe we can look at this part of 8 Mile and maybe even continue on farther, since I really didn't go past Hilton, and do something with this part of 8 Mile and developing it a little better.
Well, since you asked a specific question, I'll allow Councilman Lennon, who has some experience.
That is a county road, and it's a absolute challenge to get the railroad and Wayne County down here to do something. Not only is there the graffiti and the sidewalks and the debris and the broken beer bottles, the fence in the meeting's fallen down, everything. I'm in the process of contacting the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, and I'm going to have to make some phone calls to Wayne County and have April help me on that, because it's a mess. It's the first thing you see when you come into our city from the west. We just got them, for the help of Derek, to cut the grass over on Wanda.
Something you talk about every year.
Every year, yeah. It took us 2 months to get them to cut the grass. It's the railroad, not the county.
What about a volunteer effort to just get some people in there on our own.
There's a lot of legalities involved in that. You can talk to Mr. Chris about getting a volunteer effort down there on 8 Mile Road.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
you know,
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Well, something's going to be done.
Anyone else for call to audience this evening? All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. These are items that council considers routine and will enact in one motion. Consent agenda item A is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held August 8th, 2011. B is approval to accept the estimated 3-year bid of $107,860 to $134,825 to Technical Logistic Corporation of Romulus to haul and dispose of tree wood, logs and stumps, construction and demolition debris, street sweepings, and water and sewer repair spoils through June 30th, 2014, and to charge the expense to the Sanitation Fund Refuge Disposal. C, approval of the road closure of Hilton between Lewiston and 10 Mile Road on Saturday, October 22nd, 2011, from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. for the annual Hilton Fall Festival event. D is approval to adopt the resolution amending the concessionaire license for Charity Mendoza of Detroit Underdog to operate a hot dog cart on city sidewalks, primarily in front of Rust Belt Market, near 306 West 9 Mile Road, Huntington Bank, 195 West 9 Mile Road, which is the Ferndale Art Building, and 251 and 253 East 9 Mile, which is the Greenleaf Bodywork, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Wednesday through Friday, and 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, as submitted by our city clerk. Item E is approval to adopt ordinance number 1115, adopting the 2009 edition of the International Fire Code, including appendices A through J, as submitted by the fire chief. Item F, approval of the invoices from Hartwell Cement Company for $33,599 for resurfacing an asphalt portion of the city yard to be charged to the Public Improvement Fund, and $44,195 for enlarging an asphalt section of the southwest storage yard to be charged to the Sanitation Fund. G is approval to fill the dispatcher vacancy in the police department. H, approval to adopt a condolence resolution for the family of retired police sergeant John Barber. And I, approval of the bills and payroll as certified by the city manager to be paid subject to the review of the council's finance committee. What is the council's pleasure on the consent agenda this evening?
Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to request item 6D be pulled.
6D to be pulled from the agenda. Any other changes to the consent agenda? Motion would be in
I would move that
order.
we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 6D as in dog. Support, which is appropriate since it's Detroit Underdog.
Supported, moved by Baker, supported by Piana. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council members Lennon,
Yes.
Piana,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. Our regular agenda this evening, item A, is confirmation of an appointment of Anthony Bronner to the Civil Service Board for a term ending December 31st, 2016. I think that's supposed to be, not 2106.
Oh, I'm
20
sorry.
Yeah.
I would like to live that long.
2016, is that all right, Anthony? Yeah.
Do we find someone we like?
Patrick said. I would need a motion to do that, however.
I would move to confirm the appointment of Anthony Bronner to the Civil Service Board for a term ending December 31st, 2016. Support.
All right. Moved by Baker, supported by Piana. Any discussion? I guess I would just say, few applicants come with the experience that Anthony does in this field. He could, run this department at the city, and he's a relatively new resident of Ferndale, correct? You come from Ann Arbor? So, Anthony, we appreciate your willingness to step forward and all the wealth of experience. I'm not going to go into your resume, but you have a wealth of experience in this area, and we really appreciate you stepping forward and volunteering. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Piana.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Lennon.
Yes.
Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That appointment is adopted. Regular agenda item B is the appointment of representatives to the MML conference. Madam Clerk, do you want to?
Yes, every year, as part of the MML's annual conference, they have their annual meeting. Each municipality is entitled to one vote during that meeting, but you have to appoint your voting members ahead of time and file the proper paperwork with the MML. So they usually ask that you appoint a voting member and an alternate in case that person can't be there for the annual meeting. And this is for the conference that runs October 4th through 7th in Grand Rapids.
Not Hawaii or...
No.
All right.
Grand Michigan Municipal.
Oh, yeah. What is council's pleasure this evening?
Well, Melanie, are you attending on behalf of
the Suburbs Alliance? We're looking into the costs associated with sending someone from the Suburbs Alliance, so not confirmed yet.
Yeah.
But I am interested in serving and representing the city at MML. But I also think this is an excellent opportunity for our new mayor to get involved on behalf of the community. And so I would propose that we allocate him as the lead liaison and put me as the alternate. I work with MML on my day job, so...
that sounds good. I can't go as much as my son lives there. I'd love to go, but one of you will be taking a goodie box up with you, just so you know.
Okay. And I am interested in going. This is my first year as mayor, and I have not been to an MML conference, and I know there's a lot of good stuff to learn there, and it really is just 2 hours away. So I am interested in going.
I think that the mayor will know maybe some people on the political side that the councilwoman doesn't, and councilwoman will likely know a lot of people on the planning and community development side that the mayor hasn't yet. So you guys going together makes a lot of sense to me.
Certainly does.
I would move, do we need to make a formal motion, City Clerk?
Yes, please. And
I
I've
would-
got it if you'd like.
I would move to approve the travel arrangements.
We don't need to do that yet. We're just designating the voting representative and the alternate.
Thank you.
That's all
I would
we need
move
to
to approve Mayor Coulter as our voting representative and Councilwoman Piana as our alternate for the upcoming Michigan Municipal League Conference, with further travel approvals to be submitted.
Support.
Moved by Baker, supported by Lennon. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmembers Baker?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Piana? Yes. Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item passes. Our next regular agenda is the former consent agenda D, the approval to adopt the resolution amending the concessionaire's license for Detroit Underdog. And Madam Clerk, you pulled that item.
I did, Your Honor. Thank you. We just wanted to have a little clarification on this particular permit. Detroit Underdog has been operating as a concessionaire for several weeks now. Sorry, I don't have my things in front of me. A couple of incidences were noted this past weekend during the Dream Cruise, which brought to the attention some clarifications needed on this permit. And the city manager and I are suggesting that we meet with representatives of Detroit Underdog. They did come in today to talk about it. I did tell them that we would like to sit down and have a meeting. One of the incidences, which some of you may have heard of, happened on Thursday on the east side, on East 9 Mile. I spoke with Michael Larry today. Seems that there was just a little miscommunication, not quite enough information given on one side, not quite enough information requested on the other side, and the Dream Cruise director is okay with that situation, and they can address it as it happens next year. The licensees have asked for clarification on whether or not the council's restrictions on hours and days apply when they are operating on private property, which they do in front of Rust Belt Market. There's that little apron of sidewalk that belongs to Rust Belt Market, and they rent that space, as does the other hot dog vendor. So I've asked the city attorney to look into it, and he has an opinion on that.
Mr. Chris.
Very briefly, if I could, I have had a chance to take a look at it. As defined under the concessionaire ordinance, it would apply, that particular restriction would apply when they're located on public property. The license addresses those entities that are selling items from a temporary structure or location within the central business district, and so based on the current language of the ordinance, it would be applicable to the area that is currently being rented. But as a practical matter, the council's initial resolution considered the application times that were set forth by the applicant. So to the extent that the applicant has determined or would seek clarification or an expansion of those hours, they should seek to amend the license and the resolution that council provided. That's the proper course of action.
So that is the resolution in front of you to expand the hours as requested by the licensees.
But Dan, I need a clarification on what you said. You said on public property.
And private.
And private. So public, there's no distinction under this ordinance, you believe, between public and private property?
For a concessionaire license.
Under this ordinance, for concessionaire.
Yeah. Because they otherwise satisfy the definition of concessionaire.
Thank you.
At this point, I am amenable to whatever direction council would like to take. As I said, the city manager and I will set a meeting with Ms. Mendoza and make sure that everyone is on the same page and understands the parameters of the permit.
So would your preference be to table this until the next meeting, until you've had an opportunity to meet with the owners?
That would be my preference, because there have just the incidents since the permit was issued would indicate that there is some confusion as to what the permit does and does not allow.
Through the chair. It's my understanding, too, that the DDA and city clerk's office are still working through some of...
We are waiting for this season to end.
Okay.
And we have both been doing research. I spoke with Mr. Chris before this meeting. He has also been doing research on ordinances across the country, actually. So, yes, before next season comes around, we will be reworking this ordinance in view of, the emerging trends in this area. And so that it's clearer to our merchants, it's clearer to our vendors, and it's clear to us what is acceptable and what is not.
Okay.
So through the chair, City Clerk, should we take no action on this evening? Or do you need us to take action?
I'm okay with you. I would probably prefer that you table it. That just gives clear direction that we will take it up again in September.
September 12th? I would move to table item 6D until the first meeting in September on September 12th.
Can I speak on this for a moment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm Bob Jeff, and I'm from Motor City Franks. I'm really here to defend underdogs. We've been cordially working out that spot. We don't really work the same times and so forth. They do the night shift, they do weekdays, and I do primarily the weekends. And it's worked out real well for us, even though we occupied the same area. But one of the things that's under confusion is we pay the Rust Belt, particularly rent, because that private piece of property, we're just like any one of the vendors inside. They are also temporary vendors. If somebody at an art fair or at the Dream Cruise sells purses, and there's a temporary purse vendor inside the Rust Belt, that means they shouldn't be able to concession also. Us as concessionaires are private to the Rust Belt. The fact that we're not enclosed in those walls, we're still on that private property. It makes no sense whatsoever that we can't concession on private property during an event. I was there at Dream Cruise, well appreciated, on Saturday. And I think that was the whole challenge. The reason I've been paying the Rust Belt rent is so I can be there. We don't make much money on Saturdays and Sundays. You won't have concessionaires if we can't do those major events. We stand out there for a lot of Saturdays and Sundays for $50 or $100. And I challenge anybody to do that on very hot weather, holding an umbrella down when it's pouring at Dream Cruise, so we can start up again and service our suppliers or our customers. If you're going to say that we can't concession during art fair, Dream Cruise, Green Cruise, Pub Crawl, then we probably won't be there.
I think maybe I'm not understanding the scope of the issue here.
Well, Dan,
I'm
do
just
you-
saying that based
Yeah.
on that.
I know, so I'm going to let Dan
I
address
think that that is an issue that needs to be studied, and certainly I understand perhaps the consequence of the way the ordinance is currently drafted. And I think that's going to be an issue for further study and ultimate decision by council at a later date. But the prohibition with respect to special events is clear, and the language as it relates to the concessionaire and transient merchant provision is clear as well. So I'm not sure really what happened on Saturday, but
The only reason we have concessionaire licenses is because it's a requirement of the city. I mean, anybody that's, if we were inside the Rust Belt, would we require a concessionaire license? It's a question.
I guess I don't know. I don't believe so.
I haven't looked at that issue.
Yeah.
And the fact that we really are in the Rust Belt property, we're just not in that particular, surrounded by the wall. So I think that needs to go back and be reevaluated.
Thank you. No, I appreciate your comment. I mean, on all of this, we're sort of in our first season of doing these concessionaires. Admittedly, we have not worked through all of the issues, thought through every scenario, and that's kind of what we're in the process of doing this year, is kind of how I look at this. And so I appreciate your comments, and we'll consider that as well. Yeah.
A question, was the challenge this weekend that
Operating outside of their permitted hours.
I see.
They do have defined hours
Yes,
in their
understood.
concessionaire's
No, okay.
license.
And I understand the larger scope of the,
Yeah.
I understand the larger scope of the
Right,
challenge
and so we're
now.
still, and so they are here, so cool.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Just to clarify, I know there have been a few misunderstandings. That's the main reason why we wanted to amend these hours, so that we don't have these misunderstandings in the future. We did talk to Mr. Larry about getting a permit for the Dream Cruise, but he told us we didn't need one because we already had our concessionaire's license, and we're going to be on our own private property. What we didn't know was that we still had to operate within the hours that were limited to us from that concessionaire's license. And that's where the mix-up was.
Okay, now
That-
it's clear, I see.
I'm clear now, and I think that this is just lack of confusion and miscommunication on everybody's part.
Sure.
We're
I mean,
working
I
out the
take
kinks.
responsibility as well. I mean, we definitely take responsibility, you know, and we want to do things the right way. You know, we want to have a good relationship in the city with everybody, and we want to have a successful business.
No, we want businesses to succeed, absolutely.
And, you know, we feel that if we can expand our hours, because we do plan on actually being operational even through the season, if you will, of the summer, fall. I mean, we plan on being around so that we can establish, you know, a successful business and really gain a reputation amongst the citizens of Ferndale so that they know that we're, you know, going to be committed. I think that being able to amend our hours will help that, and it would definitely stop, you know, would definitely help, you know, any confusion would eliminate those problems. So, you know, we're just hoping, that's exactly why we submitted to change our hours.
Well, I think Madam Clerk and City Attorney will present that stuff to us, and we'll probably have to go from there on that.
Is there something coming up in the intervening time?
You know, meeting scheduled?
Or I'm trying to think, is there another
Is there
big
an
event?
event
Is the DIY festival, for example, before our next?
The ordinance is clear, as the city attorney said, as is their permit and is their resolution adopted by council, that operating in an area closed for a special event is prohibited. Those organizers of those events organize the vendors. So we made that clear up front to all 5 of the currently operating concessionaires that you're not allowed to operate during special events without permission of that event's organizer. So if you want to operate during the DIY, you got to talk to Chris Johnston. If you want to operate on the west side of 9 Mile, then you need to talk to Mark Loeb, and I can give you that contact information.
Okay.
The incident that happened on East 9 Mile on Thursday was miscommunication. Now, on the west side of 9 Mile, there were no Dream Cruise activities this year, and yet on Friday and Saturday, this licensee was operating outside the hours of the permit, and this is not the first time that they have operated outside of the hours of their permit. Now, they're talking about confusion. I'm not sure what confusion that is with the hours, that you requested to operate until 3 p.m., and that's what council approved. So I am not opposed to expanding the hours at all. I want to make sure that this licensee understands what the city's regulations are and what we expect of them, and make sure that we are all clear on what they are and are not allowed to do in the central business district.
I have one comment. I just wanted to clarify what additional hours they're asking for. So the original that council approved on July 11th is Monday through Friday, 11 to 3. And
They want to expand that
Friday,
to 5.
right, and now they
Two
want
extra hours
2
during the
extra
week,
hours.
right?
And then they had Friday to Sunday from 10 to 3 a.m., 10 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Right, now they want
Actually,
to
I
do
believe
that
that's
on
supposed to be 10
Wednesday.
a.m. to 3 a.m.
I'm sorry, what?
I believe for Friday through Sunday it was supposed to be 10 a.m. to 3 a.m.
10 a.m.?
Due to the fact that we that we try to hit the bar scene and the lunch.
I'm looking off of the resolution that council approved on August 22nd, and it says 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Friday to Sunday.
And the new request.
The new request and an email dated August 8th is 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday 11 a.m. to 3 a.m., Wednesday and Thursday 10 p.m. until 3 a.m.
Although on our council agenda, it says Wednesday through Friday, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m.
That's what they said. They wanted to add Wednesday and Thursday to 10
We
p.m.
wanted
So what
to
would
add-
be new is Wednesday and Thursday,
I see.
right?
Right, Wednesday and Thursday to 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Friday continuing, that doesn't change.
Okay.
It's just the way she counted
And being able to operate 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. Saturday and Sunday because of the Rust Belt that
Yeah.
we
That makes sense. And do you have a meeting scheduled? Is that my understanding, or you're in the process of scheduling? a
Yeah, we're
meeting?
definitely in the as soon as
I'll contact you guys.
Mrs. Tomlin would like to.
Thank you. Additional comments? No?
Still waiting till September? I think, did I make a motion? I think.
Yes.
You did, and it was not supported.
Oh, the motion was made, but then they came up.
But
So
then
it
they
wasn't
came
that
up
it
with
wasn't supported, but then they came up. So-
Motion,
Yeah, so the motion, there's a motion made, but is there a second on the motion?
I can make it again.
Second.
So the motion has been made by Baker and supported by Councilman Lennon. Additional comments or questions?
I got one more I can ask.
Yes, sir.
If we don't operate-
Come on up to the microphone, so,
I can ask you, but
yeah.
if we don't operate as a concessionaire inside the Rust Belt, if we're not a concessionaire inside the Rust Belt, we can operate at any time.
If you don't operate as
Say
a
that again, Ed?
concessionaire.
Well,
You mean if you're in?
if you're inside the Rust Belt, then I don't need a concessionaire license.
It appears that way.
Is that true?
To sell food.
Yeah.
It appears that way.
I think that's what he answered. He wasn't sure, or you?
Well, I haven't looked at that issue.
Okay.
Okay.
It's my, what you've already indicated is none of the other individuals have any type of license who are of a temporary nature.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if I don't know if that's clear.
We'll clarify that as part of what we research. Thanks. Yeah. Again, we all want you guys to succeed. This is a new process for the city.
Right.
We're trying to figure out how this works in a fair way, so
That's
you know,
why-
bear with us, I guess is what I would say.
We're working well together.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really cross paths. I mean, we do, but we're kind of verbally maybe our own schedule, and it's been totally cordial. Everything's worked out perfectly.
And certainly, we have had no complaints about
Yeah,
the
I think
operation
it's
of
well
this
received.
ordinance under.
Yeah, your products are well received. We're happy to have you. We just want to make sure we clarify all of this stuff so that going forward, we have
The creativity of our,
Prove that I make the best hot dog.
maybe we'll have another
we could have a cook-off, right?
I think that the creativity of our entrepreneurs in Ferndale has gotten a little bit ahead of the bureaucracy in Ferndale, and I apologize for that.
We've gotten nothing but compliments, and both of us from people saying how great it is to have us there, and it's
Yeah.
really exciting. So-
Even had
There's a lot
the
of
vegan
people-
dogs at the Green
Correct.
Cruise,
Yeah, we're
right?
at the
I
Green-
mean,
we're
very
at the Green
creative of you
Cruise.
guys.
And
That's right.
and we really are we have been receiving a lot of positive feedback from people, from the citizens and everybody, from everyone who's come and seen us, from the DDA to everyone just going from the bus stop or whatever. There's been a lot of positive feedback, and the whole private property issue as opposed to public property, and when we can operate and when we can't operate. I mean, that's definitely, we can clear that up with the meeting. I was under the impression that on the private property, since we were paying rent, and we were under different time stipulations. So
let's get together, work all this through, and at our next meeting, we'll come to some kind of resolution. Is that okay?
Invite me to that.
Thank you. Oh.
It's September 12th.
Oh, for this meeting.
Oh, no, you mean for the meeting?
Oh, with the city clerk.
Motor City and these guys, and because it's all kind of all tied together, my business and their business. And
Right, but I haven't had any problems with your operation.
yeah, but I want to find out about the rest of the
Okay,
scenario.
all right.
Well, just to
Very good.
clarify, though, that this particular meeting is about their time. We have a much broader issue of how we're handling these whole licenses in general that we'll be meeting at probably at a different time.
So they may be
Yes,
two separate
yes,
meetings.
just to
Great.
clarify. Yep.
All right. Well, we'll
Thank you
keep
very
you in
much.
the loop, promise.
Yes,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Thanks, everybody. So we need to vote on.
Yes,
on
we
that.
do.
We have a motion by Baker, supported by Lennon. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmembers Lennon?
Yes.
Piana?
Just, can you clarify what the motion is again?
To table consideration
To table,
until
okay, yes.
September.
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That is tabled to the next meeting. That concludes our regular agenda. Council liaison reports. Are there any reports this evening from council members?
I have one.
Okay.
Well, two. Well, you know me, I add them on as I go. I just wanted to announce that the Woodward Avenue Action Association received a major grant award from the federal government this past week from the Federal Highway Administration, and they won $752,880 to prepare a complete streets master plan from Pontiac to Detroit. So the entire length of the Woodward corridor. I'm tickled pink that we're going to be connecting our complete streets and helping cities that haven't started this process actually commence that. So I just think it's one of those great new ways of us looking at how to coordinate and collaborate through the land use side. And I think this is a great funding opportunity for the corridor. So I'm looking forward for the city to participate, and also through my role and the Transform Woodward Task Force. So that's all I wanted to announce, and also say congratulations to Phil. He's my next door neighbor. He's the Volunteer of the Year award. So I just want to say thanks, Phil.
And I guess I can report that the South Oakland County Mayors are meeting next week. April, I think we're going. Is that
No, not till September.
Oh, I'm off. Okay, we're going to Cork and Pleasant Ridge. I know that, for the mayors to get together and do what mayors do when they get together. Any other liaison reports? Exactly. All right, then why don't we move to call to council. Chief Collins, anything else from the police department this evening?
Nothing new, Your Honor. I just wanted to give you a brief report on the Green Cruise from the police perspective over the weekend.
Thank you.
We had a very good event. I supplied a report to the city manager, which I'm sure she'll share with you. We had no Dream Cruise-related accidents, no Dream Cruise-related arrests. We had assisted Royal Oak, or offered our assistance to Royal Oak after they had the wind shear go through. They didn't avail themselves to that, but we were standing ready to help them. I did drive down to see the devastation of that, and I understand why Royal Oak canceled that cruise for that period of time. But otherwise, we came in under budget, and nobody got hurt. Everybody had a good time, and there was a couple of innovations during the emergency car show. I'd like to give some thanks to the traffic control officer and one of our auxiliaries, Wayne Smith, who came up with a
way better plan on the fly to get those emergency vehicles out of town and back safely. They did it very well, and they kind of formulated that idea on the fly, so I was pretty impressed with their operations there. And we also did not have to staff the crossing, we didn't think this year, because everything was on the east side of 9 Mile Road. And it turned out, because of the traffic patterns, that we did staff that, but we had enough people on site to do that, to get the folks across Woodward Avenue safely. But there was no real snafus. It was a good time had by all, and nobody got hurt. Nobody even stole anything. So it was a good weekend.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Chief. Chief Sullivan, anything from the fire department this evening?
Mayor, Council, we also had a pretty non-eventful Dream Cruise. There were a couple medicals during the Dream Cruise, but they were handled efficiently and effectively. Nobody was seriously hurt. We did use our truck on the emergency vehicle show, put our new aerial up, and let a lot of people take a ride in it. Later that night when we were putting it away, we busted a hose or something, so we have them over taking a look at it for warranty work, but that was a little bit of part of the plan to get it to run 10 to 12 hour period and see how well it ran for 10 to 12 hours. So we had a glitch, but they're working on that now. We dropped it off there today. Other than that, everything else went really good. We did keep people over on overtime past what was scheduled for the Dream Cruise after the wind shear, because we did have a few wires in town go down, but we were waiting to see if they needed extra assistance out there. That's it.
Thanks, Chief. Julie Hall, Recreation Department.
Mayor and Council, a couple of thank yous. First, to the city staff that participated in the kickball fundraiser. I appreciated them coming out on their own time. So despite the one injury, he wasn't actually playing for us at the time. He volunteered to sub in for, I think, Fern Care or someone. So it wasn't actually a city.
The free clinic injured the planning director?
Was it you guys? Maybe the library. Someone took him on as a sub, so they broke him, we didn't. And then a thank you to Councilman Lennon for attending our 80-plus recognition luncheon for our seniors. That really did mean a lot to them that you came and handed out certificates. We have 63 members who are over 80 or over, so that was a fun event. And then we do have the Fall Festival coming up, which is October 22nd for people to mark their calendars.
Say that again, Julie?
October 22nd.
Thank you.
And we are starting that earlier this year. There will be the race before the event, and then we will have our event that will end by 6. So we are doing it a little bit differently this year. 2 days before that, we will have a health fair. It's going to tie in with a new group of classes and fitness programs we're running for the seniors. St. Joseph Mercy Oakland is actually sponsoring Senior Fit for us. So in addition to a lot of the classes that we have for a fee, we will have a fitness class for seniors from 9:30 to 10:30, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, starting September 12th and running through May. So that's an excellent opportunity for us to offer that exercise program for seniors for free. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Can I have a quick question about the Hilton Fall Festival? Sorry,
Yes.
you said it's only going until 6. And maybe this is too specific since it's in October, but you just tell me 2 questions. One is I have a request from a 3.5-year-old, who would be my niece, who's wondering if the climbing wall will be back.
We do have the climbing wall
Bouncy climbing
scheduled.
wall.
Pretty sure
Excellent.
this climbing wall and the obstacle course and a few other things have been added. So.
Made a 3-year-old very happy. The other question is, will there still be then the pumpkins and the trick-or-treating if it is going until only 6 o'clock?
They are going to do that. It's just going to be earlier. And that's based on some of the things from our sponsors, and it just seems like it's going to work with, they're trying to do some things downtown as well. So we're trying to coordinate and make everyone happy. So it seems like that's going to run better. It won't be as dark, but that's the plan.
But the kids will still be dressed up and do the trick-or-treating?
Exactly,
All
yes.
right, thank you. These are important.
You'll be able to see their candy to take it out of their bag, what kind you want.
Ah, the good stuff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Julie.
important details.
Sean Slocum from the DPW, anything to report this evening?
Not too much, Mayor and Council, just that this year's sidewalk assessment district is, for all practical purposes, complete. The contractor this year did a superior job, as stated earlier by a local resident. They were very professional, neat, clean, very little restoration. So, other than that, we're operating day to day. Byron's in Greece, having a good time.
Good.
And we're just taking care of business.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, City Clerk Sherilyn, anything else this evening?
Just very quickly, we have scheduled with the League of Women Voters a candidates forum for the upcoming November 3rd election. It's going to be held here in the council chambers Monday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. And I'm sure the League will be getting in touch with those of you who are candidates for office.
Good to know.
At 7 p.m.?
7 p.m., yes.
Thank you. April McGrath, 3 weeks on the job. How's it going?
Doing well. I'm going to end our first month this week. So I just wanted to give an update on the EVIP program, Economic Vitality Incentive Program, otherwise known as State Shared Revenue. You will notice on the city's website is a new logo called Munitrix. Before Mr. Wollenweber left, he had worked with that company to put up our dashboard and civic guide, our citizens guide, I should say. We have a few more blanks to fill in, but we will be doing, Ms. Eubanks and I will be doing a presentation on the 12th, just to kind of give you an update of how to travel through Munitrix. That does get us to our October 1st deadline, and ensuring that council has a chance to review that information and is comfortable with that. It is online right now. Again, there is a few blanks that need to be filled in. The next two steps, or the next two parts of that, are the shared services part of it, as well as healthcare, which we're working through. The shared services isn't due till January 1st, but we'll have that done prior to that as well. So we'll keep you posted and give you updates and a chance to review that information as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate it. Dan Chris, City Attorney, anything else?
Very briefly, Mayor, the existing concessionaire ordinance does date back to 1992, and I will talk with the city manager and clerk's office to determine whether or not a short-term ordinance amendment should come back to council for its next meeting in light of some of the issues that were raised tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Baker.
I want to thank the mayor and the city manager and our city clerk for joining me, and Councilwoman Piana, for joining me for a hard hat preview tour of Fern Care Free Clinic's permanent home. We will be moving into our site, we hope, in the coming weeks. All of the work that has gone into that building, truly 90% of it has either been donated or done by volunteers. When I think when the final tallies are done, it will be amazing exactly how much value has been put into that building by volunteers, and how little Fern Care had to pay up front for it. It's going to be wonderful. So hopefully we will be open in our new permanent site in just a few weeks. We hosted Congressman Sandy Levin tonight, who's been so instrumental in helping us get going. We wanted to make sure he saw the building before he had to go back to Washington at the end of his recess. So thank you so much for joining us on our little hard hat tour. The big grand opening will happen probably toward the end of September, and of course everyone will be invited to that. This was a much smaller group for the elected representatives of the top 5 cities that our patients come from, which are all here in southeast Oakland County. Just want to let you know, as we were sitting here, I sent an email, and I apologize to the Environmental Sustainability Committee for not doing this 2 weeks ago. I sent all of you guys an email, as well as copying the city clerk and the city manager regarding a resolution that the Environmental Sustainability Commission would like us to take a look at about fracking, which is a very environmentally destructive way to extract natural gas. The sample resolution specifically addresses fracking in Michigan. Given our great natural resources in this state, our Environmental Sustainability Commission would like us to consider encouraging the state to not allow that type of process here in Michigan. So you have waiting in your inbox the sample resolution and some information from Lina on the Environmental Sustainability Commission, and I've asked that she or one of her colleagues be here at our September meeting to answer any questions that we may have about this resolution. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councilman Lennon.
Well, just very busy last few weeks. A lot of events going on in Ferndale. Had a wonderful time at all of them. Anybody that knows me knows that I do not visit my computer on a day-to-day basis. They pile up on me sometimes, and I'm slow in responding. Therefore, I haven't really reached out to anybody lately, but I am getting better. But I've never really formally announced that I will be seeking my third term on council this November. So you will all be hearing from me shortly. Via computer, snail mail, somehow. Okay, thank you. That's it I got here.
Thank you, Mike. Councilwoman Piana.
Well, starting with that, I just wanted to publicly state my full endorsement of Mike Lennon running for council.
Thank you.
So I am encouraged that you're running again with your history and knowledge on council. Really brings a great perspective to the decisions that we have to make up here, and I really appreciate I just really appreciate you up here and the perspective that you bring. So.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
A couple things. One, I just wanted to let people know that the Green Cruise was fantastic. Councilman Galloway and I rode the 22 miles on the cruise and met a lot of new people, and I think I made my personal best ever for 22 miles. Considering I haven't been riding my bike that much long distance this summer for a lot of personal reasons. So with that said, my next big effort is to do the 5K run walk at the Detroit Zoo, and I'm encouraging everybody to come out and support one of our best regional assets, which is Sunday, September 18th, starting at 8 a.m. You can register online for the Detroit Zoo. And hopefully that will get me going for the Hilton Fall Festival Run 5K. So I hate running. I do it anyway. It's one of those things I'm trying to mentally overcome. So please join me in my slow jog for the Detroit Zoo Run and the Fall Hilton Festival. So.
Wow, I'm jealous.
Yeah, no
22-mile bike ride. Well, I did the Green Cruise, but I walked to Pinecrest and back. And then had some ice cream at Big Dreams, but thank you. I guess the only thing I want to announce today is some of you know that I'm working on a backpack program. I am trying to find folks to adopt 70 backpacks for 70 Head Start students at the Ferndale Head Start program. And and like you, Mike, I've gotten a little backed up on my emails. So if you've reached out to me and said, yes, I want a backpack or I want to help, I haven't forgot you. This week you will hear from me. I specifically want to thank 4 organizations because each organization adopted a classroom. There's 4 classrooms of Head Start kids. And Credit Union 1 and the library and Drayton Avenue Presbyterian Church and the Ferndale Baptist Church each agreed to sort of coordinate one of the classrooms. So you will be hearing from me or one of those folks, but it's a really neat program. We're going to send our Head Start students in Ferndale back to school the right way with a brand new backpack, thanks to the Ferndale Community Foundation. Dan Martin, I see you sitting there. And we're going to ask folks to fill them up with their school supplies so that these kids start this school year the right way. So if you haven't heard from me yet, stay tuned. You'll be hearing from me this week.
Do we have a drop-off point for those new school supplies?
Yeah, and it's going to be at those four
places.
Groups is going to coordinate that. So more details to come, but I just wanted people to know because I'm like you, I've gotten behind as well. But so if you've reached out to me, I haven't forgotten you, and I will get to you. So that concludes my comments this evening, and with that, our meeting is adjourned.